phone like a door. Busted. All right. It takes a minute for anybody to join the live. And so we're going to hold out. It takes about 60 seconds for everybody to join. I said earlier that I would come back later tonight, do a little quick live, and show you the body condition on the cattle compared to what, hopefully, if you joined us again, what you would have saw earlier in this little talk. I'm going to keep it as short and sweet as I can. Is about, body condition and how important it is to really keep your animals on high quality forage and being able to identify when they're not getting the proper nutrition. Super important, guys. That's all it's about. So, all right, I'm going to give you just a nice view here for a minute till we get a couple people joining us. And then I'll start flapping my neck. All right, we got somebody on here. So that's Wes here at Tick Creek Ranch. So we went live earlier today and I did a whole lot of talking about the herd, cattle condition, their body condition, performance, all these things. And we had them on paddock way back up there that was basically just season-long stockpile. And it got, let me take these off. It got so stinking rank. The nutrition wasn't in it. And even though I was letting them selectively graze, they just looked really poor, their body condition, right? So meaning they just weren't carrying the weight on them like they should. They were showing more hip, more rib. They look kind of poor, a little dehydrated. And that really is a sure sign of lack of protein, right? Just total energy of the plant. So I'm gonna flip you around here and just kind of do a little walking around and just show you the girls. And if you did join us earlier today for the live, you might remember, how they looked. And what a stark difference and improvement in body condition with getting them on better forage. And that was just, a matter of hours ago. So this is 1903. This is that Hereford Red Angus cross. And she's got fantastic body condition. It's improved tremendously just since earlier. Here's 506. Here's kind of our flagship girl. She's probably the best in the herd. Hey. And my wife's shadow's right on her, so let's move her back a little bit. You can get a little bit better look at her. Here we go. So there we go. Just a lot less hip, a lot less pins. Pins and hooks aren't showing as much. 573. She's, I've said before, she really surprised me. I didn't think she'd turn into much. I didn't have high hopes for her when we first got her and the first year we owned her, but she's really actually turned into a quite outstanding animal that keeps great condition and gave us a beautiful calf. You're going to also notice, well, I hope you can notice, but the condition of the calves, how dramatically it increases and how fast their condition increases when their mothers have the proper nutrition and they are producing more milk. And it happens fast, guys. I mean, I know it might sound crazy that it was just, I don't know, literally hours ago that we moved them into this better forage, but you can just really see it. They increase their body condition so fast, it happens right before your eyes. Here we go, 511. Hey, Brazil, thanks. We only have a total of 25 units in this herd right now, i.e. 24 cows and what do we got here? 4 horses. And why I say that, it's a measurement of weight, and that's kind of how we go ahead and calculate our units, not necessarily the head. But yeah, we got 24 cattle in here. It's just a little starter herd that we're working on our genetics, and we're going to be scaling up. We're grossly, and I mean grossly understocked. We need a lot more animals on this land here to keep up with our forage production. But, we're just doing what we can as fast as we can. Cattle have a very slow turnaround. They have long gestation periods. And the earliest you really probably ever want to breed them is about 14 months so that they calve around that 24-month mark. And so it's just slow. It's not like sheep or some light-bodied animal that turn around a lot quicker. So, it's going to take us years to build this herd up. And it's the right way to do it for us, though, because we can build it slow while we improve our land. And then We can selectively cull as we go along. So we just end up with better and better genetics. And we're not going to run ourselves, too hard on our land where we're going to be degenerating our land instead of regenerating it. If you graze too hard, too fast, not enough recovery times, and what I mean too fast, you're biting off more than you can chew. Your land is not there and you overstock, you're going to set yourself back. So, we're just kind of growing into this. Right now, we're currently on our land, we're at about a 3-to-1. Actually, more than that, what am I saying? We are at about a 2.7-to-1 carrying capacity or stocking rate right now, meaning like about 2.7 acres to the animal unit. And we're terribly, terribly understocked at this point. So we could double, I think, the amount of animals that we have probably by next year, but we won't be able to. We're just gonna have more calves and keep growing the herd. So let me get back to what you guys are saying here. Yeah, no, we don't sacrifice our cattle. We just eat them and grow our herd. Yeah, oh, they sure love it. This is about as good as it gets for a cow out here. A fresh paddock multiple times a day, depending on how we're grazing. We might move them anywhere from 1 to 4 times a day, 4 times being the goal that we'll move our animals into fresh paddock. And I say fresh paddock, but just fresh grass. We advance our fence along. So about every 2.5 to 3 hours, we will just put the front fence, which is just this single hot strand wire you see right behind me, and we just move it over. Maybe sometimes it's only 5 feet, sometimes it's 10 feet, and it just gives them a brand new, fresh slice of pasture. So they'll eat it more aggressively and consume more and be less selective. Now, this isn't the greatest stuff. We've got some broom sedge in here, but the grasses that are in here besides the broom sedge is pretty highly nutritive. And I think the evidence right here will prove what I'm saying. Just, if you did hang out with us earlier today when I was flapping my neck that whole time, I showed all the cattle in their condition and, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Here's 970, she's still showing a little rib, but we'll go around to her other side and we're going to start seeing her gut fill. As they will consume more of this forage, right? Because they like it more. It's more nutritious. And you can see she's really rounded out now. And she'll really start stacking condition on, putting on a lot more body fat. Are you gonna graze my toes? What are you doing, girl? All right. What are you doing? Got a few horn flies. Not too bad. Bruno's over there having a disagreement with that tree. That's our herd sire. He's over there wrecking that thing, having a good old time. Rubbing on some cedars. Who is this? Is this 991? Is that who I'm looking at? Yes, it is. All right. I showed her earlier in her condition. She's, looking pretty stellar. So, again, the reason I'm out here showing this little walk around of the animals and how they look is just to re-emphasize how important it is to focus on your forage quality. And as I say that, I'm gonna point out that I had him on forage that wasn't good enough, and I should have moved him forward sooner. Thought I could get away with it, and it was the wrong decision. I actually had a little bull calf in here that got some fescue toxicity, and he has had a leg that started swelling, his rear left. Pretty indicative of fescue toxicosis, and we took in, hey girl, and we just got him out of there. It was really rank old fescue, and he decided to go get himself a big belly of that stuff, and man, it put the boots to him. So got him out of there, and this is regraze here, and I'm gonna say, just off the top of my head, I think we're looking at about 55 days, give or take, of recovery here, rest, since we last grazed this. And we have done very, very little regrazing this year, meaning grazing a paddock, allowing it to grow back, and then come back and graze again. Oh, now you're using me as a scratching post. 36, boy. You're picking up all kinds of bad habits from your girlfriends, aren't you? Yeah. I got a bunch of them in here now that just, every time they see me, they come up wanting scratches and rubbing on me. Yeah, so we've done very, very little of regrazing because I've had this plan in mind, what I'm trying to accomplish getting across my land and utilize what I can, but also giving really long rest periods to the land so we can regenerate it faster. And that was the whole goal of mine. And so we've kind of been on the razor edge this whole time of adequate nutrition for the cattle. And when you're operating like that, man, it doesn't take a very big management mistake. Just leaving them in paddock just a little too long, or not giving them quite enough new forage, you know, oh man, they suffer pretty quick. So, you know, if this stuff was higher in protein, you know, 10% or better, we would, I'm sure, just flying colors. It's no problem. I mean, but we're practicing more of a non-selective graze. Now, to explain this, what we're doing right here is not necessarily a non-selective graze. They're leaving some stuff behind, but you can see almost every single plant has been touched. They're still kind of avoiding this broom sedge here because this is, at this stage, it's very unpalatable, lignified, just not good stuff, almost no nutrition. So they kind of avoid it. But as we now advance this way, as we start moving down what we call our cell, we will just be moving that wire ahead a very small amount, and that will make them pack in there really tight and get shoulder to shoulder. And that is how we're going to really, really increase our stocking density, okay? And I didn't talk about this earlier today, but our stocking density, our goals are, if we're going to be non-selective grazing, and there's many levels to the harvest efficiency that you will get out of your animals when they're non-selective grazing. But I see, at least in our herd, we have to be north of about 400,000 pounds of stock density per acre to really start seeing the level of non-selectivity that I want to see. At least kind of getting into the area of non-selective grazing, let's put it that way. And they start getting really efficient at about 800,000 pounds per acre. So, and up from there, it can even just get better and better. But your forage quality and quantity is going to dictate what your stocking density can be. Yeah, you can smash 1 million pounds of beef in 1 acre, but if you don't have the amount of forage there that you need to have there, I mean, you're going to be moving them every minutes. It'll be minutes, literally. Every 30, 40 minutes, you would have to advance the fence. So you need some pretty good density, quantity of your sward to be able to sustain that many animal per acre, right? So that's kind of how it works. It's the forage that really dictates how you're going to graze. It's just your job as the grazer to be able to identify what that is. And so that's really just a learning curve. It takes a lot of experience, a lot of time with your animals, a lot of time on the forage, really starting to identify the species of grasses you have and at what stage of productivity or production they're in. Are they in reproductive stage? Are they vegetative? Are they recovered? And if you can't identify that in your grasses, then you're going to have a really hard time managing your herd and your grasses effectively, right? Now, if we wanted to just concentrate on individual animal performance, we would just give them the whole farm, you know, or we would just give them massive paddocks and just let them selectively graze all the time. And they would be fat as heck, right? They would. They'd be blimps. They would perform really, really well. But our land would suffer. Our production would suffer. We wouldn't get as much productivity out of our land. We wouldn't be able to grow as much forage. We wouldn't regenerate our soils as fast. Because the angle of the total grazing program and how it works and the idea behind how the science works in the soil is very different than was being taught other places. So what we believe as total grazers is that a very, very mature plant with a really extended, deep, powerful, full of energy root system and what it can do for your soil is far more important and powerful, much more powerful than a underdeveloped plant that has an anemic root system. So if you have a big mature plant with a large root system and it can photosynthesize really well and it can increase that liquid carbon pathway from the photosynthesis and inject those carbohydrates into the soil, more rapidly and more efficiently, you're going to increase the activity of your microbes. Your microbes will grow fatter, bigger, faster, and they'll proliferate. And that is actually what builds your long life humus or carbon in your soil. So that's the premise behind it. That is the theories behind it. There's some scientific literature that proves such. Now, regardless of the science, what I'm observing, right, the power of observation is part of the scientific process. What I am observing with my own eyes is maybe I'm not observing that what's going on down in the soil, but I can observe what's going on above the soil. And what's going on above the soil is amazing. It's really, really transforming our land, and we're growing so much more forage because we're following the guidelines that help to increase that liquid carbon going into the soil and promoting microbe growth. So, you know, then it all circle back around to the beginning. It all boils down to, though, the most important thing you can do as a cattleman is put your animal's condition first and foremost, and then everything behind that. So you've got to make sure you have healthy, robust, strong, resistant animals that are going to cycle back for you, meaning the females will be able to go into their estrus cycle, therefore getting bred by your bull, giving you a calf every year. That is the goal as a cattleman. So, you know, on large scale, I don't know that it's actually feasible or practical or obtainable, but the goal is to hopefully hit, you know, 100% breed back rate would be the goal of every cattleman. Now, that's kind of a unicorn. Now, when you have a small herd like us, when we did have 100% calving rate, which is amazing, it's excellent, but we had so few animals that it's easier to obtain that, right, than those couple outliers that throw that number off. So a lot of guys are absolutely over the moon with over 90% breed back, and outstanding is like 95% breed back, and anything above that is just literally icing on the cake. You know, it's a hard goal. If you got 100 cows, you're going to probably have a handful of them that go open for unknown reasons: sickness, stress, just a bad reproductive system, poor fertility. There's just things that happen, right? It's no different than humans. Not every human can have a child, or not every woman can birth a child. Not every man can sire a child. It's just kind of part of the game. So what we do, though, as cattlemen, if we're trying to be as productive as possible, we will cull out the animals, meaning get them off our farm. Whether we eat them or whether we sell them, you send those down the road, and they become hamburger or they become somebody else's problem. And now, in full transparency, I would never sell an animal that went open to somebody and say, "Oh yeah, this is just one of our best cows. We just have too many of them. So yeah, you should buy her." No, I would tell them the reason I'm selling her is she went open. So you can choose to do what you want with her. If you want to put her in your program and try and breed her again, that's your prerogative. But they need to be armed with the proper information to be able to make the right decisions going forward. Otherwise, you're setting them up for failure, and that's pretty bogus. That, you know, it's like selling a car with a bad transmission and not disclosing that, right? That's kind of a problem. So yeah, it's all about animal nutrition, and fertility and body condition. So, and if you have good body condition, all of those other things are most likely synonymous, and that's how you got there, right? So the animals that have good body condition are going to have a more inherent ability to breed back better. They're also going to pass that on to their progeny. They're going to be more, you know, just more fertile, right? So it really, really boils down to inherent body condition. As you're a breeder, cow-calf operation, you want to be selecting the calves from your best cows and your best bulls. So if you're going to keep a bull back, you want to keep that bull. You want to make sure that you're keeping a bull that came from your best cow, right? That is really important. Even though you might have I have a cow here that gave us a beautiful bull calf. And it's just really sad that she's just not much of a cow. And even though she gave us a great son of hers, I would not ever pass that off as a breeding animal because, you know, her traits are definitely heritable. So he might pass that on to his progeny, And then you have some poor body condition. Even though he looks really good, maybe his daughters will look bad. So those are just the risks you really can't take as a cattleman. You just, you know, maybe that bull calf would give you great daughters and sons, but you can't really risk it, right? So you got to just pick the best of the best, the creme de la creme. And in this grazing system, the total grazing program, excuse me, it's a system that, you know, the cream really rises to the top quick when you push your animals hard, when you're operating right on that razor edge of nutrition. And that's when, you know, your best genetics will really shine through, and you'll identify your best animals. And then going forward, you're gonna, you know, need to make the hard decisions on what you're gonna cull. So it's been said, a good cattleman, because we've removed the predator from the ecosystem here, right? This is a canned ranch. It's said that as a cattleman, you have to become the predator. You have to be the one that culls the weak, the old, right? And that's how nature operates. So we're trying to emulate nature as much as we can here. And if you do that, you'll be a successful cattleman, and hopefully grow more forage and have, you know, beautiful, healthy animals. So this guy gets money, huh? You need a daddy. You're watching from Japan. It's Ken, Olivia and Ken. Hey, all right, guys, thanks. Sure appreciate it. It's pretty cool. Just get people all the time from all over the world. Oh, so hey, I gotta, I got, I gotta come clean on something. So here earlier on a live we were doing, there was somebody, I don't even know who it was. I apologize. I never caught the name or remembered it. And they said something, and they said it in jest. And I didn't catch that because their next comment was the ha ha ha, right? And I kind of let them have it. So I apologize that you were just playing, and I was apparently a poor sport. I'm pretty quick to fire back at people on social media because, you know, we get millions and millions of views on our social media. And man, I'll tell you what, it's crazy. It just, social media brings the worst out in people. And so I'll kick sand right back in their eyes if they give me any shit at all. So it's just the way I'm wired. So sorry, folks. Anyway, yeah, I'll do another little panoramic here and show you the girls, and then we're gonna probably move this fence forward and let them have a little more salad for tonight, and put them to bed, tuck them in, and we'll be back out here in the morning and keep on moving. So yeah, 991. You could use a little more. You're all right, but you could use a little more on you. Let's see what we got here, Leo. How you doing, buddy? Looks like one of your buddies bit you. You got a nice wound on your side. Oh, big girl. Yeah, let's look at 803 here real quick. I did show her earlier, and you know, if she's looking poor, if she starts losing body condition, oh man, I know I got a real problem, because man, this camera just doesn't do it any justice. She is literally built like a beach ball. You know, she's round, 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 round. She's a little hairy. She's got a little too much hair for my liking. I wish she was a little slicker, but you know, she keeps good condition, and she tolerates the heat and humidity here, so I'm not going to complain. And she gave us an outstanding bull calf, really beautiful. 559, my gal, you are looking stupendous. She's got a beautiful coat. She has a nice sheen to it. She's slicked off real well. She produces just enough milk, not too much, and not an inadequate amount. So she gave us this big, beautiful heifer. I've had people, I'll point out, she's got what's called a navel, a little flap of skin. It's just, it's a heritable trait. It's somewhere in her genetic coding, and some of them end up with it, but I've had people say, oh, that's a steer. No, that's not a pecker. That's just a navel flap. But yeah, she's got a big, beautiful heifer on her, nursing her up, and they're just doing absolutely outstanding. Are the horses Mustang? No, they are not. All of them, except for that big behemoth, that's Ona. She's a Percheron Shire cross. More Percheron than Shire. I don't know how much Shire she has in her because she hardly has any feathers on her legs, and she is coloring up exactly like a Percheron. She is built like a Percheron. So I would say she's mostly Percheron. And then the rest of these horses here, there's only a few in here. We got a whole bunch more up front by the road. The girls work up there. And those are all cattle bred quarter horses. So they're cow ponies, right? They've been bred for many, many generations specifically to work cattle, and they have great genetics to do it. Now, the funny thing is, although we have cattle and have cattle bred horses, we don't work our cattle with horses. We don't feel a need to because, as you can see, they are docile. They're very, very docile. So they just go and do what we want them to do with a real mild, light suggestion. We don't have to bully them. We don't have to chase them down, whip them, hit them, scream at them. It's a very easy, low stress management style of handling cattle. It's becoming more popular, you know. There's those that have been the trailblazers for this more type of regenerative agriculture management, and they've taught a lot of people, including myself, that, you know, maybe there's a better way of handling cattle than, and you know, this is very different, but this is a very scalable system here. You can run many hundreds of cattle just like this. It is said and taught by Jim Elizondo that they've found through trial and error that you don't want to have more than 900 cattle in a herd. They've found that seems to be the peak. And if you run any more than 900 in any one given herd, you'll end up with too much over competition. You'll have too many animals that will be starved out. The dominant cattle will pretty much just run them off and basically cause them to underperform or starve. So as you can see, this is starting to get pretty thin. They've pecked it out. There's not a whole lot of real good stuff in there. We want them to take as much as they want. Actually, we want them to take as much as we can get them to take, because this is a non-selective grazing system here. And so we want them to eat it. We want them to eat it close to the ground. Now, do we want dirt? Do we want to eat it to the dirt? No, I'll keep saying that. There's a misconception out there, or a rumor flying around on the internet, that total grazers want to eat it to the dirt. That is completely untrue. We want to eat it very close to the dirt. We want to leave some litter. We want to leave just a little bit of grass and a little bit of trample, but we want to utilize most all of the grass. Now, again, it goes back to, if you have the proper nutrition in your grass, then you can do it. Otherwise, your animals are going to suffer. It's pretty simple. You just got to be very attentive. This is not a turn the cows out on the pasture type situation and go check on them next month, right? It's very intensive, very hands-on. We're out here a lot, but it's paying off in dividends. We have a lot of really nice animals that are happy and healthy, and we're growing copious amounts of forage. Copious, like many times over what we were doing before. We already are experiencing carrying capacities like some of those that have been doing this for decades, but a different style, a different way. And we're already able to carry more animals in a short period of time doing this style of grazing. So it's kind of what it works. Kind of how it works. We've had land to hold 4 cows. Can you make money? You will not make money if you're feeding. That's just true. I mean, there are some guys that have cracked the code. They've figured out how to make some money off of high input systems, but remember, those kind of systems have to operate on incredibly large numbers. So if your profit margin on an animal is, $100 or $200, after all of your depreciation of equipment, land, interest payments, feed costs, vet bills, vaccinations if you're a vaccinator, all the stuff. Well, 4 cows isn't going to make you any money. But if you practice a system like this, where it's very, very low input, you don't have to feed hay in the winter unless you live in a place that has a lot of snow. We stockpile our forage, meaning standing hay, still connected to the ground. It's just grass that we allow to grow in high yield, and then that's what we graze through the winter. And our largest input right now currently on the land or in the herd is our mineral currently. I don't know, we go through about $30 in mineral twice a month, so $60 a month in mineral, something roughly like that. But come winter, if we manage properly going forward, we won't be feeding any hay whatsoever. So, in a herd this size, we would be feeding in winter if we didn't have standing forage. We would be feeding at least 1 round bale of hay a day, which could be anywhere from $40 on the absolute low side all the way to $100 per bale per day. I think this year we're going to probably experience, for those that are going to be feeding hay, because we had a really good amount of rain, really nice rainfall this earlier summer. We've been very dry this last month, but got to put up a lot of forage, so a lot of guys grew a lot of grass. So they should only see about, I'd say probably on the high side, maybe $60 a bale, on the very low side, 40. So, the hay prices are pretty good, but still, that's not a great plan if you are going to have to feed hay for 3, 4, 5 months out of the year. You're going to burn up all your profits on inputs. So that's what's great about this system, this program. You get to grow more grass and feed no hay if you do it right. There you go. That's how you make some money. So, hey, Linda. Hey, thanks for joining us. Carrying capacity and resource management is huge. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I appreciate it. Yeah, I love my animals. I really do. I love them. I know a lot of people can't really wrap their head around, like, how can you love an animal so much and then someday, put a bullet in their head and eat them? Well, I have a philosophy on that. Everything on this earth here is put here for a reason. We all have a purpose. Everything. Every animal, every bug, every plant, every bird, everything. These cows, me and you, we all have a purpose. And their plight in life happens to be their food for us. They are also a wonderful tool to build the land. They are in an amazing part of an amazing system, right? It's just a very nice symbiotic relationship between the land, the soil, the forage, and the ruminants. That's what makes the system work. It's the magic that happens inside that cow's gut that really helps to start an inoculation of your soil and get biology going, right? And so I look at them as tools, but I really, really respect them. I love them very much. But yes, I believe that they should have the absolute best life possible right up to their very, very last second. And that's why I'm really big on actual mobile kill, home kill. I'll shoot my animals right here while they're still out grazing pasture and just living life to the fullest, and they have no idea what's coming. We don't trailer them anywhere. We don't take them to a slaughterhouse. There's zero stress right to the very last second, and it's just like turning off a light switch. And I'm kind of one of those guys that believes that if I'm, responsible for their life and their well-being, then I should also probably be responsible for their death and make sure it's carried out in a very humane and painless and perfect ending manner. So anyway, that's a little goo-goo talk for you. Yeah, so you can see, 511, she's done. She's all filled up. She's happy. They got a lot of forage off of this when we got them in here earlier. And so this is going to be their second rumination cycle since we put them on this paddock. Typically, we only go through 1 rumination cycle per break. So every 2.5 to 3 hours, we will move them, maybe 4 hours. And, but yeah, she's filled up. We're going to start seeing more girls start curling up, laying down. And that'll be that for them. Now, and the reason it's a little different now than a lot of other days we've had around here is that it's finally cooled off. And that is going to also make a huge impact on animal performance. When it's cooler, they will consume more, they will put on more condition, and they will do more grazing in the middle of the day. They'll have higher consumption. So they won't be so prone to eat late into the night. So know this, you need to know this if you're a cattle person, anybody that carries stock, livestock on apologize. I am not smart enough to still figure out my phone receive calls when I'm live streaming, so I apologize. That before I got interrupted. Someone help me out. My wife's not even paying attention. Oh, yeah, so in the heat of the day when it's hotter, right? Even if you have heat adapted cattle, yes, they will eat when other cattle will be shaded up, but they're gonna eat less. They just do. When it gets cooler, their metabolic rate changes. They're not just on that survival mode of trying to not overheat. And the thing is they're going to take in less feed if they're really hot, because if they take more feed in, they're going to be ruminating longer and harder, which the byproduct of that is also heat. So especially if you add really lignified, high fiber content to them. So if you're eating rank grass that's full of endophyte, which is a poison synonymous with Kentucky 31 tall fescue, they're going to be putting on heat because the endophyte does it. They're going to be putting on more heat because they're eating higher fiber. And then they also have to cope with just the hot, the humidity and the ambient temperature. So it's a recipe for, an inferno. They just cook. So they have to eat less. And then as night comes and it starts cooling off, they will eat a lot more during the evening and even into the dark. So to help you manage your grazing better, you need to take that in consideration. Hot day, larger break at night. Cool day, smaller break at night. Break is paddock, small movement of our forward fence to give them more forage. So, just little things like that you learn along the way. And it just helps you to manage your sward a little better, not wasting so much of it or not starving your animals of nutrition. So, we're just always, and it changes constantly, right? Because as I'm standing here, realistically, this grass is maturing. It's getting older day by day. So, and as it matures at a certain point, it becomes less nutritive. So you have to constantly be adapting and changing to that new environment that you're experiencing differently, not maybe necessarily daily, but weekly. You will see major changes in your forage quality from week to week. It gets to a point where it becomes so mature. If it's like a really, really overly ripe warm season grass, man, there's just almost no nutrition in it. So you got to manage your warm season grasses different. You need to definitely eat them sooner than your cool season grasses. Your cool season grasses tend to hold their nutritive value longer, even into maturation. Now, it definitely drops, but they still have more total protein, and your animals can do a little better on it. Now, but if you did what I did, which was not very intelligent, and I gave them all that really rank fescue back up there. Well, I didn't say all that really rank fescue. I gave them a really rank paddock, and there were a few really dense, thick, high-yielding stands of fescue, and that little bull calf boy, he just dove in there like, wee, and he just ate on that, and he got some fescue foot. His leg swelled up. So I was like, whoa, get out of here. We got to get him out of here. So we quick set up, made the long move today, got him back here, much better forage. And I think hopefully you folks can tell that their body condition, if you were with us earlier, much improved. And that's just over, a handful of hours. Big Red Farmer, you're getting low on corn silage. Okay, well, we are not, we don't feed. We don't, when I mean feed, right, we don't give them anything but grass. That's it. Grass and legume. Correction, we will give them some soy meal if they need additional protein supplement, if there's not enough protein in the forage that's in front of them. We just, we don't feed grains. It's very different for their gut. The microbiome of their gut reacts very, very different to those super high starches and those grains versus it does with a grass. So they are highly adapted. People can say evolved or adapted or whatever your religious beliefs are, either created by God or the Big Bang, whatever. These animals are designed to eat grass. And so that's what we really, really try and function on. And so we're looking constantly at overall vitality and performance and strictly on grass and it is my belief and those of others that if you're having to use a crutch, like additional feeds with really high glycemic index numbers, you know, corn, wheat, oats, whatever, that's just a crutch for actually a larger problem, which is a genetic problem. You need to probably most likely work on your genetics, maybe import a little bit of genetics into your herd if your cattle don't do good on grass and grass alone. And you will see a massive improvement of feed conversion efficiency. That's what it all boils down to. Can your cattle get fat and stay fat on grass? And if they can't, you're in a very, very high input, very costly system that is ultimately going to be robbing money out of your pocket. So that's my spiel on that. Bermuda, that's what you guys got. Yeah, oh, okay, all right. Don't have any Bahia down there. Bermuda and Bahia, I think I don't have any experience with it, just what I understand, what I've seen. I've been around a little bit. We went down to Florida. We were down there here a little bit ago. And from what I understand about Bahia, especially, oh my gosh, the nutritive value of that stuff absolutely just falls out of it. You need to get on it and get on it fast. You're talking about grazing cycles around 20 days, graze and return in 20 days and return in 20 days. Otherwise, there's just not enough nutrition in it. So you folks down south are at a very great disadvantage compared to us in the fescue belt a little bit further north. They get a little bit cooler weather. They can grow these cool season grasses. Unfortunately for you guys, with those low nutritive grasses, you should really, really, really be considering much better adapted genetics. But Bermuda is a great forage. My cattle actually don't really even prefer it that much. They will eat it. We have a little bit here on the farm, but not much. It's just a little patch here and a little patch there. And yes, they will eat it. But when we're running in ultra high stock densities, they eat just about everything, including the thistles and the ironweed, which they haven't touched here because I'm spoiling them. I've got them in low stock densities right now. They love to eat the frostweed and the briars. I might have said that. Sawbriar. Oh boy, they love that stuff. I don't know how, I can't even touch it without getting cut, but they sure eat it up. So, you know, really good genetics for that. I'll keep harping on it from what I've seen with my own eyes and what I read. Is that Moshona genetics are going to probably be something that you're going to want to at least consider and read up on, study that. Jim Elizondo at Real Wealth Ranching is a wonderful resource for any of those questions. Real Wealth Ranching, and his name actually is Jaime Elizondo, but he goes by Jim here in the States sometimes, for those of us that can't say Jaime very well or call him Jamie. And yeah, Real Wealth Ranching, check out Jim. He's a wealth of knowledge. He's the man that teaches this program. He will make you become a much, much better cattleman. We're going to be having a school here on the 7th and 8th of November this year, 2024, right here on Tick Creek Ranch. 2 days, lunch included, morning coffee. It'll be a great time. Just kind of everybody get together, do a little BS, a little meet and greet. And we're going to learn about how to make your land way more productive. That is what we're doing here. I've been under his tutelage now for a bit, and I've already said it before many times, and I'll keep reiterating it. I started out kind of floundering through it on my own, and then I finally went to one of his schools and actually took his courses, and he filled in all the blanks, and it made it all come into focus for us, you know. So you live in Iowa and can't feed them just grass because we have, oh yes, there you go. Yes, you guys are in very different situation. You guys have very, very high nutritive needs for your cattle, so they lactate. Yeah. Now, I don't know squat about dairy cattle other than they need a lot more nutrition, so I'm not going to even pretend to tell you how you can manage differently for them. But I can tell you this. If you manage your grasses better, if you practice a more non-selective nature in your management program, you will by far, and I mean many, many times over, grow way more grass. So that in of itself should help lower your inputs. So yeah, it's really changed everything for us now. I don't worry at night now how much hay I'm gonna need this winter. I don't, because I don't need any this winter. We don't need any hay. Actually, what I need this winter is more cows because I need to graze off all this dang grass that I have. I have too much grass. I never thought I'd say that. So Jim Elizondo, though, he is a dairy nutritionist, and he's helped a lot of people with dairies. And he used to be a dairyman. He had a dairy in Mexico for many years. Now he's just transitioned into beef cattle down there. So yeah, check him out. You know, you can reach out to Jim. He might give you some really good pointers on your dairy operation, maybe help you guys become just a little more profitable by becoming more productive with your forage production. So that would be my bit of advice. Let's see. You put them in the pasture in the afternoon. Yep. Higher bricks content on your grass. Absolutely. Right. So you guys know what's up. You know, sounds like you're definitely doing the right things. You're going to put them out in the afternoon when you have a higher sugar content in your plant. It's going to be more nutritive for your animals. And but just the non-selectivity of this manner of grazing, and if you can't graze your cattle non-selectively, okay, say because if you do, they're going to lose too much condition. Well, really, really highly consider mowing very short behind their grazing paddocks and keep them in a very controlled. Don't just let them turn out and go everywhere. Maybe break it down to a little bit smaller paddocks, but you guys definitely have a higher nutritive requirement than we do here running beef cattle. So, but the mowing behind the herd, I do it all the time. It's absolutely been a game changer for us. You'll hear a lot of guys say, don't mow, that's a waste of time. That's a waste of energy. But if you're leaving the stems on your plants, they're gonna respire and they're gonna steal energy from your grass, from the crown, from the roots. That's gonna make it weaker. So, plus on your regrowth, you're gonna have a higher stem to leaf ratio if you don't mow. So clip, mow, total graze, whatever you gotta do, get as much of that forage and stem off, and the next regrowth will be incredibly leafy, highly palatable, and you'll just get better animal performance out of it. So that's what I do when we're kind of in more than the selective grazing. I just mow. I mow tight, and then I try to make sure not to leave big old matted down windrows. I break it up, maybe even have to go over the windrows to explode them further. I cut a big hole in the side of my bush hog, so it ejects it out the side like a normal lawnmower and helps to scatter it, not just leaving a big nasty windrow that suppresses growth. So, all right. Heifers are out day and night. Yeah, okay. Yep. All right, guys. Well, yeah, I guess that's, we're kind of running out of daylight here. So I really appreciate you guys joining us. And I'll do one little quick more walkthrough around here. And before it gets too dark, let you look at the cows as they're trying to go nighty-night. And then we'll get out of here for you. Hey, big girl, what you doing? It's pretty calm out here right now. Let's go, we'll go over here real quick and say hi to Bruno. Everybody seems to like him. I sure do. He's a big boy. He's a good boy. He's one of, if not the mellowest bull I've ever encountered. He's just a big old thick neck meathead, and he's just a really sweet animal. Very, very docile. Here, I'll sit on him for you. There we go. Chilling on him while he lays here and ruminates, you know. I don't know. There's definitely bulls out there that'll do it, but I've never had one. I've never sat on one. Nope. He's very, very chill. And again, you know, those are heritable traits. So, you know, the whole herd, especially his calves, they're pretty damn chill. Now, is every one puppy dog chill? No. But, you know, they're not crazy skittish. I can touch just about every single one of them. And a handful of them scratch on me like I'm their rubbing post or scratching post. Yep. All right, well, beautiful evening. The sun's been down now for a bit, so it's actually, the camera's doing much better than my eyeballs. It's much darker to my eye than it is here to the camera, so. You guys mow 1 to 2 times a year with the brush hog? Okay. My suggestion to you guys, just experiment. Just experiment a little bit. real quick before you go here, try and get back to me. I don't want to stay out here too late, but talk to me about what your duration is on your paddock. When you put cattle on a paddock, how long are they there? Try and get that answer to me if you can. Well, here, I'll just tell you real quick. If you leave your cattle or give them access to your grass greater than 3 days, they're going to be regrazing the regrowth, and that's going to be very, very detrimental to your grass. So I know not for everybody, it's not really easy to, especially if you have all hard paddocks, right? All barbed wire and all that stuff. And maybe you're not really set up to do that, but maybe you could think about breaking them up into smaller portions with some poly. You will see tremendous impacts on that and that alone. I'd say that's probably one of the biggest differences between myself and pretty much all of my neighbors and the levels of productivity is that we don't allow any access for our cattle to any paddock for greater than 72 hours. Every once in a while, maybe 4 days. But and then in the winter, those rules don't apply because nothing is actually growing. They stay out there all day, but they have 40 acres. So are they always on the same 40 acres? You put them out to the same 40 acres every day? And if so, I absolutely highly recommend subdivide that, make it smaller, only let them have access to a paddock, a much smaller one, for 3 days, and then send them to a new paddock after 3 days, and then send them to a new paddock after 3 days. And if you can do that, you're going to increase your recovery and your rest time, which is going to be absolutely paramount in the amount of forage you guys are going to take and be able to grow. So yeah, if you're giving them access to large paddocks all the time, you guys have got to change that up. And that's not just some crazy YouTuber talking. That's straight up facts. You will grow more grass, and it'll really, really help you guys out. So what we do here, let's put it in perspective. It's getting really dark. Sorry. We had in our first year of this style of grazing management, we have some areas, not all, but some areas thus far that we've grazed that I calculated that we have 259 cow days of forage harvested per acre in one grazing pass. Okay. So to put that in perspective, we're going to come graze this again, and we're going to get at least 100 cow days, if not quite a bit more, but at least 100 cow days per acre as we graze back across that. And that will be penciling out right at roughly very, very close to a 1-to-1 carrying capacity, which is an incredible number, right? Which means one animal per acre that you can carry for 365 days a year on grass and grass alone with no inputs. So if you can alter your grazing management a little bit, subdivide it, only give them access to one area for 3 days, and then move them to another area for 3 days, you're going to see so much more grass. It's going to blow your mind. So how often do you guys, okay, so there you go. Split by 3. Okay, so how many total paddocks do you have? Can you tell me that? And how long are they in each paddock? I'm gonna break into song here. By the light of the silvery moon. It's getting dark, man. Let's see here. Okay. So that's very, very common, right? And I'm not bagging on you. Trust me, please. I've made 8 billion grazing mistakes. If you are just eating it to where it's short, well, that's one way to do it. But what you should be doing is not letting them eat on that and any given paddock more than 3 days. So if you need to create a rotation, so let's just say you're going to do 3 days and your goal is, now this is prescriptive grazing and I don't recommend it, but it will be much better than a lot of other ways. Please break it up enough to where you get at least 3 days or no more than 3 days per paddock. And you're going to want to give yourself enough paddocks so you have at least a 45-day rest period or the ability to get 45 days. I'm not saying that you should rest 45 days, or I'm not saying you should rest 90 days. You should rest until your grass is recovered. And then once it's recovered, that's when you should be grazing it. If I'm in a position where would be out of grass, or I shouldn't say out of grass, but I don't have any paddocks that are recovered. Hi, Ona. Thank you. Coming over to say hi to everybody. Look at the size of this damn horse. She's a big one. Oh, she's stepping back. She's like, that's a selfie stick. You're gonna just give your ground more rest, and you're gonna grow so much more. Let's see. They have so much grass that we have to mow at a lot of the. Well, that's good. But what is your leaf to stem ratio? Do you know that? I'm actually going to be doing some experiments with that, and I'm going to actually hand harvest and count, pull the leaves and pull the stems and dry them and weigh them and see what my leaf to stem ratio is on my regrowth with that. So, you know, it's just going to be so much more nutritive. So that's what we really focus on. These really long rest periods are going to increase your soil health so much that your plant isn't going to want to go into reproductive phase. It'll stay vegetative much longer all on its own. And so you'll keep your nutrition in your grass much longer. So I've actually seen it this year. It blew my mind. I had fescue up on the hill, measured out at 38-inch leaf blades, 38 inches long, no BS. I got it on tape. And those grasses failed to actually go to seed. They did not go to seed like 99.9% of the rest of them. It was just a few areas where the soil was really good. And the grasses grew really big, and they were very vigorous, and they never went into reproduction. They just stayed vegetative with beautiful, huge, long blades of grass. It was amazing. So mostly leaves. Okay, good. Rest. Just keep doing your soil samples. Keep checking your, definitely check your organic matter, and you know what those percentages are, and keep tracking those year over, and that's going to be your best indicator, you know, to know if your grazing management's right on par. So I would love to continue the conversation with you. Do you have Kentucky bluegrass? Okay, yeah, bluegrass is great stuff. It just for us, it turns off really quick. It's just in the very beginning of the year, and poof, it's gone, it's done. So if you're able to keep your Kentucky bluegrass vegetative all year, that's pretty awesome. That's some pretty good stuff. So we're going to skin out. Thanks everybody here from Tick Creek Ranch, and we'll catch you on the next one. But I would love to continue this conversation with you, Big Red Farmer, at some point. If you guys need any tips or pointers for someone a hell of a lot smarter than me, look up Jim. Check him out, Jim Elizondo, Real Wealth Ranching. Hey, you guys have a beautiful evening, and we'll see you on the next.